Hey everybody, this is Chuck Tomasi, and I have been asked in our Slack channel for some demonstration, some information about the reMarkable2 tablet. It's something I've owned for a little over a year, and as I mention it, people go, "Hey, you got one? What do you like? What's it like, and how does it work?" I'm thinking about getting one, so if you're thinking about it, maybe this live demo. I've not done a demonstration of this before. I've jotted down some thoughts of where we want to go. But just in case I miss something, I've got Chris over there to help answer or ask any questions as we go along. So, how are you doing today, Chris?
Doing great, thanks.
Good. This is just going to show up on my YouTube channel, so it's not anything formal. But if anybody ever asks, we'll have a link that says, "Go watch this, see what you think." We'll even have a promo code in the description for this video. If you want, go to that link and you can save $40 on the base unit. So, a little incentive for you if you choose to buy one. There's a little kickback to me too, so maybe I get a new stylus or something. So we'll take it as it goes. So let's get started. I am going to first introduce just the basic hardware, then we'll go through some of the software and then some of the features and some of the practices I use to organize my notes, because it can get, like anything else, it's a tool and you have to know how to use it and how it best serves you. So you may choose a different philosophy for organizing your notes and notebooks and folders. Totally up to you, but I'll give you some hints of how I do that along the way. So what do you say we get into it, Chris?
All right.
All right, I am going to change our screen layout a little bit here. So first of all, this is the reMarkable2. I've got two accessories added to this. One is this is the Super Deluxe Stylus. Ooh, comes I believe it just comes with the regular. They call it a marker, reMarkable. Kind of get the idea there. This is the premium. I forget what they call it. You can go to reMarkable.com and figure it out. But the difference between this and the regular one is this one has an eraser on the back. So normally you would have to click an icon to do the erasing action. You can also see that I've customized my sleeping screen, and I'll show you how you can hack into this in a little bit as well. So power button on the top, USB on the bottom. That's the only external controls. The other option I've got here is the folio. So this is a magnetic cover, simple magnetic cover specifically for the reMarkable2. Let me get that back in frame. I think it even says reMarkable on it down here in the corner embossed. So normally what you would get is this unit, and so thin. I mean, here's the stylus, magnetically clips on the side, as you would hope. If you're putting this in and out of your bag, keep track of it because it will easily get knocked off. I have had that happen before. So now I travel around with my iPad that has a different cover with a pen slot, but I don't have a pen. So I stick this reMarkable pen in the iPad. It looks kind of goofy, but I never lose it now. So let's, I guess I don't need the folio for the demo. I've turned it on and brought it up to my files. There's a menu at the top that brings up a sidebar menu. You could jump to either all of your notebooks, which simply list them out. You can sort them alphabetically. You can sort them most recently active, which is how I have them sorted now. There's two options at the top for creating a new notebook or creating a new quick sheet, is what they call it. I don't use quick sheets all that often. I don't know why. I just seem to have a predefined set of folders that I use. And I'll get through my folder mentality in a little bit. You can import PDFs. I have imported a number of them, including our low-code apps for dummies from ServiceNow. I love this because when you import a PDF, you can mark it up and then export it or send it back. When I do my ServiceNow lab guides or a preview of a document or a book I'm writing, I print it to PDF, and you can actually, there's some other plugins I'll talk about. I give it to my wife because she's my first editor before I even give it back to the publishing editor or somebody to review. She finds spelling errors, and before we would have to, I'd email her a PDF and she'd mark it up in some other app and then make the screenshot and write instructions. It was terribly painful. This is so much more intuitive. The only disadvantage I get out of exporting it to a PDF is that I lose things like animated GIFs, which would show up in a markdown document, for example. But I let her know and I show her, I said, this is going to be an animated GIF later. So if you really want to see what it's doing, it's dragging and dropping this data pill in Flow Designer or whatever. That helps. So there is an undo button right there. And a lot of these don't require, obviously you can't write with your finger, but the actions on the side, you can undo with a finger. Other options on here, there's various pen styles from pencil to marker to ballpoint pen. You can do a paintbrush, and the tilt of the reMarkable defines what that paintbrush is going to do. Not so obvious on that one. Let me do pencil, for example. If I have a significant tilt on it and I sketch, you can see it's making kind of a nice fat line. But if I hold it straight up, it's a skinny line. That was a terrible demo because I'm off the screen. So fat line, skinny line. You can do, some nice shading if you're more artistic. I am terribly not artistic. Getting back to that eraser thing, this is the enhanced pen. Normally, if you didn't have this one, you would go to the eraser icon and then simply draw all over it. Okay, and it erases that way. I find it much more natural to just flip the pen and do that. So it's a few extra dollars for this one. I was using some Christmas fund money last year, so you find your budget where you want. By default, if I recall, the cost on this is currently, it lists for $3.99. You can occasionally catch it on special for $2.99. And like I said, there's a promo code. I'm not affiliated with reMarkable in any way. I'm just a happy customer. And when I'm a happy customer, I like to endorse things. So this is my testimonial about the reMarkable2. You can get $40 off, I think it is, with the URL that I'll put in the description. So pencils, you can do your line widths, thin, medium, thick. So if you're feeling thick one day, that's no pun intended, I can do a thicker pen or a thinner pen. Yeah, obviously there. The eraser, and then this guy, this rectangular icon, is a selection tool. I use this all the time and I love it. Let me close that PDF for as sad as it is now. I just made scribbles all over my book. But it will also sync this up to the cloud. So they do have a connect package, which I'll talk about in a little bit, for how you sync, when you sync, how much you can sync, that kind of thing. Let's go and create a new notebook. I'm going to go back to my files, and in my archive folder, you can see I've got some other folders. I generally organize my folders. I try not to make too many folders and files because otherwise you won't remember where you wrote something down. So my methodology is once a month, I create a monthly folder. I can generally remember about the time that I did something. We had a meeting in August about blah, blah, blah. So I will look in my August general notes. I call that folder Captain's Log. And the Captain's Log contains 2021-10, 2021-11, 2021-12. And in a few days from this recording, I'll create 2022-01. So you can tell what month it was in. And that way it only gets so big too, because navigating a very large file could take some time. So let's go and I could create a new folder from here, create a new notebook so you can cascade your folders, or you can create a new quick sheet. Comes up and says, what do you want to call it and what template do you want to apply? I think that might be slightly out of focus. I apologize. This camera does not want to turn off autofocus. But up comes a keyboard and I'll type demo because I am in absolutely non-original mode. It comes up with a number of templates. You can choose one. Lined, music, calendars. There are just a ton of them. I'm not sure what you would use some of these for, except maybe a psychological assessment of some type. I'm sure someone in some industry loves these things. I have put in an enhancement. You can put in your own templates. These are just PNG files of a certain dimension in a certain folder. Because you can SSH into this thing and you can secure copy things over to it and add your own. The downside is there's an upside and a downside. The upside is they do update the operating system. I'm got about once a month or every other month, they've got a new feature. And these are good features that you want to get. The problem is when you update the OS, you lose your customizations, including your custom templates. So there is a Remarkable wiki out there that shows you how to do that. I've put in an enhancement request with them last week that said, please, can we have some sort of override, that a folder that I can put my templates in that you don't overwrite. Chris is well aware of this as we upgrade ServiceNow instances all the time. It's like, don't touch my customizations. Or, Chris, I don't know if you deal with mid servers at all. It probably won't mean a lot to the people that are watching this video, but there's like an overrides XML file in there that you can put, or JSON. And I said, I've got ideas on how we can make this better. Let's talk, because it certainly is possible from a software standpoint. And I hope they do take that up. So once I pick a template, I'm just going to swipe down with my finger. We'll go with lined small. We've got our template. Do you want the cover? So when you see this as a thumbnail, do you want it to be the latest page you've done, or do you want it to be the first page? I like the latest page because it's just sort of where I leave off. And finally, click create. Not terribly difficult to create a new notebook. This is page 1. You obviously type or I'm writing way off kilter. Normally my writing is bad, but not that bad. Here's my hello world, because I am a developer. And you want a new page? You simply swipe like you would. This is e-paper. So the battery life on this thing is phenomenal. Like a week of normal use before I have to go to the charger. And it really nice from a battery life standpoint, because it uses very, very little energy. Now, this is page 2. Go to page 3, swipe this way. You want to get back, you swipe the other way. So very easy to navigate around if you've got a lot of pages. Swipe up from the bottom, and there is a scrubber, a scroll bar, and it will show you where you are. Page 1, page 2. I'm not sure why those are not rendering, but normally there's a thumbnail of what you would see, and it temporarily puts you there. And if you want to stay there, you tap it. Otherwise, it will go back. It says, okay, I'm going to show you this temporarily. Maybe you've got something on another page you want to reference real quickly. The other nice navigation that they added summer, fall of 21 timeframe was the ability to get back to your other notebooks, more recent notebooks, quickly with a 2-finger swipe down from the top. And I can easily jump between my one-on-one notes with my boss, my daily notes, my call with my parents on Sunday afternoons, whatever it is. I marked them. Many of them are favorites. You can see the star next to these. So yes, there are favorites as well. And you say, well, what if I don't want this sidebar on the side? There is this little circle icon up at the top that will put that away. And now you can pretty much use the whole page. But you notice I can't close this, but I can always jump to another document. Ta-da. So easy to do. I've got recents, I've got favorites. I was recently on the low-code apps for dummies. I can always bring that icon back, and there's my toolbar. So you can see it will crop. I generally leave the toolbar on and generally just accept the margin. Any questions so far, Chris?
No, none yet.
All right. I forgot to also mention the marker does have removable tips.
Nice.
These are replaceable because they do eventually wear down. I've been getting about 3 months out of it, and I use this thing fairly constantly. I was a big paper notepad, and you're like, Chuck, you're a high-tech guy. Why aren't you just dumping everything into Evernote? Well, let me tell you, there is a stigma if you're in a meeting and you open up a laptop. People don't recognize that as taking notes. You can say you're taking notes, but unless somebody is standing behind you going, oh, yes, they're taking notes, the thought is you're checking email, you're on Facebook, you may be reading Reddit, whatever. This completely removes any chance that you are doing it. You can export these to PDF if you want to share notes. You can do some handwriting translation if your handwriting is good enough, if the layout lends itself to that. So there are ways to actually turn these into readable, searchable notes. I have not archived too many of them. After a year, I believe the cloud storage gives you 6 gigabytes. After a year, I've used about 10% of that. So I figure I've got about 10 years worth of note taking. Now, granted, I'm not loading up a lot of PDFs, just a few to get me what I need for the moment, and then I unload them. You can also put in EPUB books. So, hey, over Christmas, I loaded up Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol and read that because that's in the public domain from Project Gutenberg. So you can put some ebooks on here as well and use it in a Kindle-like fashion. You can't put actual Kindle books on there because that is a licensed format. What else did I miss? The tips. Oh, it's got a USB. I mentioned the USB port and charging. Charges through a port on the bottom. Very easy to figure out. That's also how it's USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other. So if you've already got a cable, should be fine. It also is the means when you connect it to another machine to do an SSH. You can SSH into this, and there's instructions on how to do that. I don't have my terminal window up with SSH and the USB cable connected, so I won't be able to demonstrate that right now. But it is a fairly easy procedure if you're an SSH person. There is a Linux operating system underneath. So if you're familiar with some command line utilities to CD into a folder, to edit a JSON file, I mean, literally you can edit these things live. But I would recommend backing them up. So take your original template.json file, copy that off, make a backup copy, then edit it, then put the new one on. Until they come up with some kind of override system, that's the way it goes. So there is a desktop app. I should point that out as well. Let me bring that up on my other screen. So this is available for Mac, Windows, I think Linux, iOS, Android. There's a whole bunch of them. You download this from my.remarkable.com when you get an account. You log in and you register it with a one-time code. There's no passwords. It's just a one-time code, so easy to use. It says, hey, go to this site, log in, get yourself a one-time code, and register this. I think this is like the fourth or fifth app that I've got licensed or registered. And again, just like the system, you can navigate around. Where were we? We were in the demo folder, or we were in the archive folder. And I should have a demo note. It may take a second to sync, or I have to close the document, and then it will sync, and then I'll get that up there. So there it is. And you can use these in a read-only fashion. Okay, so there's no markup here, but easy to share from here. There is also, browse around the ebooks. There's Christmas Carol by Dickens. There's some PDFs that we were looking at. And if this thing synced, you should also see my scribbling all over the document. Isn't that lovely? These are also in color. I should have mentioned that the reMarkable is black and white only. I should properly address it as the reMarkable2. I can easily get to my favorites and, of course, trash anything I like. The import is done this way. You import, it brings up the little file chooser, go to your files, pick a PDF or an EPUB file, and upload it. Let's go back to my demo document. Come on, open up. There's my demo document. Down on the bottom, I have a menu here that says, you can do other things. I should finish navigating around here. We did all the pens. We did the eraser. The rectangle tool. Forgot to tell you about the rectangle tool. One of my favorite options on here. Let's say, for example, I've done this, I don't know, maybe it represents a cue ball or a 3. I'm playing billiards. There, now it's a 3. Okay, I want 3 in the corner pocket. But let's say I put something else on here, and I want to move that. Or you're doing an outline, okay? And I need something in the middle of those. I can take this rectangle tool, select a region, and then move it, cut it, paste it. Maybe I need this up here, and it will work. It has a copy icon, which copies it to the clipboard, at which point I can put another one, and another one, and another one. So nice copy paste feature. It's the selection tool. I use it most commonly as I'm outlining things. I'll take that and let's clear clipboard, draw a rectangle around that, and move that down so that I can get something else in my outline. So rather than, off to the side with an arrow saying that goes in here, just kind of cleans things up a little bit. You can move them to another page. What I'd really like to see, I have another enhancement request into them, is another icon over here for a library of icons. I tend to represent mnemonics on my notes. So if I am cruising through my notes and I've got a meeting, I'll make a quick calendar icon and then say, this is the demo meeting, and then start taking my notes around here. So I can quickly glance at that and go, that was for a demo. If I have an action item in there, I'll make a checkbox. And yes, I do put in drop shadows on all of my checkboxes. We're starting to slide away. Or, that represents a task or a to-do. If it's something important, an exclamation with one of those triangles around it. I want an icon library, so I can just go tap, tap. That's the icon I want, put it there. It will save a lot of time. It will make it easier to look at, easier to reference. And that's doable, right? From a standpoint, if we've got all these little PNGs hanging around, and that icon library should, of course, be configurable. So if I want to add more icons to them, maybe I want some emojis on there. Maybe I want little avatars that represent people and go, here's my Brad icon. I talked to Brad at this meeting. Rather than writing Brad Tilton, I can just go tap, tap, Brad was in the meeting. So it can lend some, not just speed and efficiency, but beauty to the notes. And any questions, Chris?
Can you do layers?
Yes, you can do layers. I don't use them a whole lot, but there are layer 1, layer 2, and add a layer.
Okay.
So apparently I can get down to the template layer. You know what? I didn't realize till just now you can change the template. I was wondering about that. I tried doing that the other day. Thank you for guiding me into this accidental discovery. So I started this notebook with lined small. Let's go to, grid small. And you can see that it's now a grid. So every page will be, it's just per page, not per notebook. Interesting. I was trying to change the notebook layout. So what will a new page come up as? A new page will follow the notebook setting. So that's that. Layers, let's do something on layer 1. Let's say layer 1. And then we will add a layer. Layer 2 is apparently on top. So if I erase a letter, it doesn't let me because it's on a different layer. But if I put something around and then you select the layer, I should be able to erase the A, but not the box. And if I go back to, where is it? Layer 2. Obviously, I can move these up and down. There's some up and down arrows like, no, I want layer 2 below layer 1. I can do that. So I generally don't use them a whole lot, but I can see a use case for them.
Yeah, I think whiteboarding would be a really good use case for that. You can have a diagram, mark up the diagram, and then get rid of all the markups you did to keep your diagram the way it was.
Ooh, right. I'm wondering if you can copy a layer. So if you wanted to say, here's an idea for maybe rearranging this room. And you've got a room diagram. You quickly sketch out, the room is this big, the window's over here, the door's over there, and I want a chair this side and a table over here. Could you take the room layer, put it on another note, and start again and say, no, the table should go up here and the chair down here. That's, got to think about that. Good question. Looking at what else is in my notes that I wanted to cover. The Connect package, I mentioned that. It is a service that they've got, a subscription service. It is for free. You get all your notes in one place. That's basically the device itself. You can get the Viewer app that I showed you for iOS, Mac, Windows, and Android. They've got a regular Connect package they call it Connect Lite or something. It's their middle tier for $4.99 a month or whatever it is, $50 a year or something. You get the unlimited cloud storage. Uh, like I said, I've used it for a year and I've used a tenth of the 6 gig that I was given. Now, I think that's the device storage is 6 gig. I don't know what's in the cloud. I will admit that I was an early adopter. I got this when it was still on special allocation pre-release and took 3 months to get. And they said, well, because you're an early adopter, we're going to give you the Connect package. So I'm not paying for any of this right now. What they gave me is the premium top tier, which is $7.99 a month. And that also gives you connectivity to, I don't know if you saw it, but there's Google Drive, Dropbox, and they just added OneDrive support as well.
Nice.
So if I want something out of my Google Drive, wow, that was fast. It came up. I'm already in one of the folders. There's my Google Drive folders. And apparently I've got a Stream Deck. My Stream Deck files are in there. I can add more files. And I honestly don't know what format they'd be saved in. I can't create a new notebook, but what I could do is open up a PDF. So let's, where do I have some PDFs? I'll bet I have a PDF in, I know I've got a PDF in Dropbox. So let's go that way. Dropbox, there's one. And if I open it, to open this document, please copy it to my files. Oh, there we go. Copy, go to my files. They make this so easy. I'm just going to put it at the top level, and there it is, down here. I'm previewing Chapter 6 from Podcasting for Dummies, 4th edition. And then, my wife could come in and go, no, this is wrong. What does this mean? Change this to is, not was, or was, not is. Just easy stuff that you can do. And then hands the device back to me. And literally, I can use the scrubber and look through the pages and go, what did she mark up? What did she mark up? What did she mark up? Ah, there's one, and go fix it in the live document. So very, very useful for a lot of things that I use it for. It goes way beyond just basic note taking. What else did we have? The Chrome extension. There is a Chrome extension called, what's it called? Print to Markable? Send to Markable? I got to look at it again. It basically allows you to connect to your printer driver and take any web page and send it here. So you hit the extension icon on your browser, and up comes the print dialog. Only instead of PDF or an actual device, it says reMarkable, and it will send it to the device. So now I can read something offline later or mark it up. So if you choose to read your content offline, or you're going on a long plane trip and you've got some of those TLDR documents, send them here because they were too long to read online. I know I have a short attention span when I'm looking at a browser, but when I'm on a plane and there's no good movies, this makes a good another good source of information. You go, oh, now I understand how the Large Hadron Collider works, sort of. Because I downloaded the owner's manual from a web page, because that's what you can do on the internet. What else did I have? Mention the OS updates, the passcode. When you first start the app, it says enter a passcode. You go to my.remarkable.com, and it says, how about a one-time code? Copy it to clipboard, paste it in. The folders and notebooks, I talked about those. Mine are, as I mentioned, in the captain's log. I've got one favorite for the current month. You simply you do a long press on a file, and this menu comes up on the top and says, would you like to mark it as a favorite? I believe that's right there. Would you like to rename it? You can trash it. The trash is I believe it's a trash folder, and you don't get, you can always recover something in the trash. I got to double check on that. My advice is don't create too many notebooks. Don't create too many folders because it becomes very hard to find. There isn't a search feature that says look through the contents of each note because some of these are diagrams. I mean, it's just it's line art drawing until you do something like let's take my demo folder again. Let's go back to my demo doc. Come on, my files, archive, demo, and I'm going to go to a new page and say 1, 2, 3. And down here, I can send by email, which will send this image, or I can convert to text and send. And it will do its best to try and convert that. And it actually did a pretty good job. It says 1, 2, 3 in all caps. And then I can send that. You simply put in an email address. I've got a couple in here. Oops. Well, I'm sure that wasn't a big secret to a lot of people. And away you go. So you can send these. The screen sharing, I didn't finish doing screen share, did I? I did not. Let's go back and do present with screen share is the first one on this little share icon. And it says, you can always dismiss this. Connect to the app. I've got the app running on the desktop over here. So when I say connect, the app says, somebody wants to connect to you. I go, great, I accept. And up comes 1, 2, 3. And now I can use this on Zoom, for example, as a whiteboard. You can also see on the device, it's slightly changed. There is a dark border around here, letting you know you are currently in share mode. So over on the desktop, if I say, Chris, it's close to real time. Let's draw your stereo speaker configuration. Okay. Speakers look like that. Wow, I'm getting pareidolia really bad now. And Chris says, no, 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 no. There's no second mid-range. We erase that, and away it goes. So as a screen sharing tool, not too shabby. You'd still get all the benefits of taking notes, saving notes, sending notes via email. You could say, all right, I'm going to send this to you after the meeting is done. Hope you can all read my chicken scratch, or I'll try to convert it to text, and then you can read my chicken scratch. And then, so useful as a meeting tool beyond just me taking notes. I use the screen share occasionally for demonstrations like this, either on a video or in a Zoom. So nice to have. I don't know how much most people would use that. When I'm done with the screen share, I go back to the device and tap that same icon and say stop. And the desktop says screen share is no longer active. So pretty easy. A lot of the use case, the user experience on this is really pretty straightforward. They make it easy. They put up plenty of directions and instructions to follow, to go through step by step. I didn't talk about the settings yet. So if I close the notebook, there is a settings at the bottom of the menu. You've got the general stuff. What operating system version are you on? What's your account? You log into this. It's got a Wi-Fi. It does have Wi-Fi. That's what it's got built in. Okay, so I am on my network. When I'm not on my network, I can either turn in flight mode, which turns Wi-Fi off, or I can join a different Wi-Fi network to keep that cloud sync going, to keep the Connect package running. The Wi-Fi settings, of course, are pretty straightforward. Any other Wi-Fi's around that you want to connect to. Battery life, I had this plugged in for about 5 minutes this morning. You can show the battery percentage. Storage, you can see how much I've used over the last year. Pennies. I do not anticipate that we will need to upgrade this thing. They'll probably come out with a new device long before I run out, and I'll probably run out and get that one next. See what it's got. The USB interface, when I plug this in, it says you can now SSH to 10.11.1.99, I think is the address. And then if you go to the device that your USB cable is connected to, this doesn't physically change. but you can roam around the underlying operating system to get into the folders. Pretty much everything is in /usr/share/reMarkable. The sleep screen that I've got is simply called suspended.png. I drew this up on my Mac. I exported it at the right resolution, replaced their default file, which simply says, your reMarkable is sleeping. So, well, that's boring. Replaced it and did that. If you want to put in a new template, you put it into the template folder and you modify, you have to have a little bit of tech savvy for this, the template.json file. And there are instructions again on remarkablewiki.com that can help you through that. Where was I? Storage, security. You can turn on a keypad, just like an iPad, if you want to put in a numeric code to unlock it. I use this so frequently, and generally it's always on my person that it's annoying not to have it. Language, of course, they support multiple languages for the menus. Accessibility for fonts large and small, and then help. I thought help, I think, is where the SSH thing comes up. But again, it's what I've done on my Mac is just simply made an SSH config file. So when I say SSH reMarkable, it knows to log in as root at this IP address. The SSH keys are already in place, so it just makes it a streamlined process. I'm not going to get into the depths of how you set up SSH and config files and keys. That's an easily Googleable subject. What other questions, Chris?
So do you use this for personal life, mostly work? Do you carry it around with you everywhere you go?
It is everything. I have notes in there, like I said, from my parents' calls on Sunday afternoons so that I can remember what we talked about. It may be a couple of weeks since we talked. How is the Italian bread you were working on, Dad? How did that turn out? Or how's Mom's exercise bike? Just to keep track of that. Or I've got friends that I call once a month. They have a special file themselves. So personal, absolutely. Professional, absolutely. If it's in my head, it's no good.
Yep.
And it just keeps the clutter out. In fact, I've got a document that says declutter your brain or something like that. And whenever I'm feeling stressed out, it's usually because I've got too many ideas in my head and I just want to dump them out. What am I thinking about? What am I trying to keep track of? Oh, there's this project at home. There's this project at work. There's something that somebody asked me to do at church. I'm trying to remember this all in my head. And then by just writing it down, then I can start to organize it. Then it goes into more of a project management tool or a Todoist task manager. I do have a mnemonic in here when I mentioned that the icon for a task is this little checkbox. If I do it, I cross it off. And you feel good when you cross off a task. That's usually those little small 2-minute ones. And in my weekly review, what I'll do is I'll just scroll back and go, what didn't I check off? Oh, there's one. Why didn't I check it off? Well, I wrote it down on Tuesday. It's now Friday afternoon. I'm doing my review. Does that go into a larger project or should I just knock it off now? So it gives me a chance to scan for these and go, what did I do? What didn't I do? What did I promise to do? Because to me, doing tasks is personal integrity. If I choose to move this into Todoist, which is my task manager behemoth, I will let myself know with just a little arrow through it and go, I forwarded this to another task system, my real system. And then again, I can look at it and go, all right, that's not something I need to worry about because it's been transferred to an electronic system. So in terms of how it fits into my timekeeping, my prioritization, my personal productivity, this is a note taker. This is offloaded, not everything, but a lot of things from what I would traditionally put in Evernote. Some people use OneNote, some people use Obsidian. I've heard lots of other good note takers. This is mine because I find if I write something down, it sticks in my brain better. I can remember where I put it on the page, when I did it. It's just a little more cognitive to me than typing it into Evernote and saying, let Evernote search for it. There's benefits to that. Trust me, I've used Evernote for about 11 years and I love it and I subscribe to it and I use it for a lot of things, just not for those everyday, notes with the boss. I certainly won't take a laptop out at a meeting ever again. We had training a couple of weeks ago in California. I used this to take notes on that training, even though they said, oh, we'll have the slides there. Why? Because when I write something down, it sticks in my head a lot better. Other questions?
How often do you find yourself going from reMarkable to another tool? You said like you work on a couple projects and that,
Mhm.
you might take something from your notes back to the project. So what's your workflow like that for, taking your notes and like condensing them for bigger things like projects, documentation, things that try to want to remember, have searchable going forward?
Great question. If let's say we're working on our ServiceNow developer program, and there's a lot of aspects to it. There's the community, there's the website, there's the branding, there's a big multi-year project going on around how do we make this a world-class developer program. That is a big project. If I'm in a meeting for that project, I may dedicate a folder to that project. If it's a meeting we have maybe once a month just to get a status update, I'll put it in the reMarkable and keep the notes there because I know that will tie back to the overall project. Some projects, depends who the project manager is. If it's me, I'm a terrible project manager. I'll admit that right now. It's not my stock and trade. It's not what I grew up doing. I like to defer project management and task management to other people when possible. So yeah, I'm great at making me do something. I'm not that great at making other people do something. the but it really depends on the context. If it's that big of a project and I'm just taking status notes for that meeting, I'll put it in a reMarkable again because it's sticky. And if I can't knock down those quick wins on the tasks that I've written down, send link to blah 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 PowerPoint to Sarah. Okay, that's an easy win. I don't have to do it during the meeting. I certainly don't want to do it during the meeting because that would disrupt my train of thought, etc. But if I write it down, then after the meeting, I can go, what did I agree to do? And do the short ones, send the PowerPoint link to Sarah. If it's something bigger, like, oh, go set up a SharePoint site for so and so, then I'll probably put it in Todoist or put it on my calendar because I know it's going to take more than a few minutes and I need to block that off so that nobody takes that from me. Then when I get to the end of the week, so it's sort of I liken this to when my kids were small and they were in school and they'd bring home every piece of paper from school, right? And it ends up on the kitchen counter. You take the good ones and you stick them to the refrigerator. Then, when the refrigerator's full, it would get cleaned and end up in my wife's desk. Then, when the desk got full, it would go to a box in the basement. And after 25 years, we had a whole bunch of boxes of crap in our basement when we wanted to move. Okay, so it's sort of that cascading effect. This is my first line of capture for transient, quick notes, maybe thought diagramming when I was redoing this studio. I had a lot of ideas like where do I want to put the camera? Where do I want to put the lights? Does the audio rack go over here or should it go there? If it goes here, what does that mean for the monitors and how I hook those up? And I did a lot of ideating on the reMarkable. And then when I came to uh, what I thought was the final plan, obviously things morph after you use them, or software design, making a data model. Just sketch out some rectangles and go, this table talks to that table and references this, and oh, I'm going to need another one over here. I can do that a lot faster there. When I get it down, if somebody wants a copy of that, I probably won't hand them my handwritten notes because I can barely draw a rectangle. I'll put it, if it has to be documentation, then I'll diagram it in more of an appropriate tool. Sometimes it's no better than PowerPoint because, hey, rectangles, easy to do, and arrows, easy to do in PowerPoint because nobody gave me a Visio license. So I'm just going to use PowerPoint for a lot of my artistic abilities. But that sort of describes the layering effect of how I'll do that. Just when it's freeform thought, when it's instant capture, it's usually on the reMarkable.
Now, for your action item, so you use the preview, the most recent page that you worked on,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no like built-in tagging feature, right? So you would use those small icons that you draw as
Yes.
basically a tag because you can see the
Yes.
last page you worked on, you can see that you had action items for the previews. So use kind of icons as sort of a tagging system for knowing things that you might need to come back to, knowing action items that you have?
Yes, there's a note for that, and I can't remember what it was. There's some word, para blah, blah, blah. Somebody came up with this creative note-taking term for using iconography on the notes. Uh, I often use initials when somebody said something important in a meeting. I'll put AG or CT or BT, so I know who said what as we're going through the dialogue of this. And then you can always use the arrows and whatnot and go, oh, they referenced back to this and they said this. So very, very handy for that. But yes, I use the iconography a lot. It makes it easy to scan, makes it easy to recognize what that is. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show, and some of the tips and tricks I've used. If there are other reMarkable users out there, I'd love to hear what you're doing and how you're using this. The tips and tricks and maybe some hacks. I have not gone through everything that's available on the reMarkable wiki. I typically, after an OS upgrade, I'll at least replace my sleeping screen with the little kitty. And I did have a template that I was using for journaling. It had a daily journal, things like what went well today, what do I plan to do today, one that was in the morning and one that was in the evening of what did I plan to do and what did I actually do and what didn't I get done and why didn't I get it done. Just I was doing journaling for a couple of months, but every OS upgrade would wipe out that template. So I did what any good Unix geek would do. I wrote a shell script that first offloads the entire configuration in case I blow it up. I can always put it back. The OS and all the customizations, basically everything that was under user share reMarkable, I think it was the folder. Or it was user local reMarkable? I don't remember. User share reMarkable, I think is the folder. And I would copy that off into a big TGZ file. And then I would copy my customizations back into the device. The sleep screen, the template.json. It was really those three. But I configured it in such a way that if I ever dropped in another PNG, I just put it into my customizations folder in the right structure, and it would become part of this payload that got sent over. But as of now, I just do a manual SCP of that sleep screen over to the device, and I get that back. So if you really want some customizations, you got to think how badly you want them at this point. And that's a plus and a minus. I do hope they put in some sort of preserve or don't override mode into that. Because what you get is a message on your screen that says, it's time for an OS update. It's time to go from 2.11 to 2.12 or 3.0 or whatever it is. And you say, go. And you come back and you've got your data, but you've got kind of the generic device back too. Like, reMarkable is sleeping. Like, oh man, that's boring. So again, it's how badly do you want to personalize it? And it's a wonderful device. Again, it's $2.99. If I looked at the website recently, it started at $3.99. It used to take 3 months to get one because they were still building them and understanding what the demand was. And now I think the market is there. I see ads for them all the time on Facebook. That's probably because I use it and I go to the reMarkable site frequently. So all my cookies are telling on me. But if you're interested, check out the link in the bottom. I'd be happy to talk to anybody who's interested. Put a comment in there and I'll respond to it, usually within 24 hours on this video. Thank you again, Chris, for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Are you interested in buying one? I just got to ask.
I am.
Okay. You have some Christmas money?
Yeah, I could probably find some.
All right. Use my link and save $40. I'm not a salesperson for this device. If anybody is interested, I'm just a happy customer willing to talk. And Chris knows when I'm passionate about something, what happens after that. And if you get on my wrong side, you know what happens about that too. My cable provider. And on that happy note, I believe we will end this recording and wish everybody well. Take care. Have a great time. Stay safe.